My name is Valerie Stevenson, and I am the immediate past chair of the Preuss Board of Directors at the Preuss School. Thank you very much for joining us for today's conversation. I'm excited to moderate this panel with Dr. Helen Griffith, our inaugural Executive Director, and Dr. Matthew Steitz, our new principal. Dr. Griffith and Dr. Steitz, thank you very much for being with us today. To start with, I'd like to ask you both to introduce yourselves and your roles at the Preuss School. Tell us what brought you here and what attracted you. Dr. Griffith, let's start with you.
It's so good to be here with you, even though we're not together. I still feel our connectedness, and just want to say that it's been a pleasure to work with you as board chair, which has a lot to do with why I'm here. I have returned home. I'm an alum from UC San Diego, a native of San Diego, and left my community of Southeast San Diego to become an undergraduate at UC San Diego, which was my dream school. And now I have the opportunity to help shepherd other scholars who come from the same neighborhood as I grew up in to walk on that campus and to graduate and be the first in their family to get a college degree. So it's my dream job. It's an amazing place to be, and I've come home. So I'm just so excited to be here.
Thank you. Dr. Steitz?
Hi, my name is Matthew Steitz. I'm lucky enough to be serving as the principal here at the Preuss School. And what really drew me to Preuss is the mission, being able to really attack the achievement gap for students and make things happen along those lines. And myself, having been a student in San Diego City Schools, I actually was bused from my neighborhood in Terrasana out to the neighborhood of Keeler and Webster Elementary and Keeler Middle School. And I remember that being a student that was bused back and forth and how important it was to be out there in that community. And I really feel like I'm just kind of flipping the script and now have a chance to serve those communities. And that's what really drew me to Preuss, and being a part of a place where we all have the same mission, and that's to really to attack that achievement gap.
Great, thank you. So let's go ahead and get started, talk about favorite topic of all of ours, the mission of the Preuss School. A few years ago, Chancellor Kosla, EVC Simmons, the Preuss Board, School, and community began to explore ideas for the next phase of the school, building on the first spectacular 20 years of success. From that time and work, though, came a recognition that having a single head of school, a principal, was simply too large a job for one person alone. So the idea was born and the decision was made to move to a new model, one that has both an executive director and a principal. And of course, Dr. Steitz and Dr. Griffith are the two new hires for those roles, which is very exciting for everyone. Will you two please share your thoughts with us about how your roles work together? Maybe Dr. Griffith as the first one here and our inaugural executive, perhaps we can start with you.
Well, it's an honor to be a part of what I believe is an effective organizational strategy. I came from another charter school, which I founded a few years ago, where the executive director, the principal, the vice principal, the dean, that was all rolled into one position. And it really is a lot, and especially with the school of Preuss's stature and history, to take it to a different level of organization. So I'm excited that I have the outside role, where my focus is on building the brand of the Preuss School, looking at the mission and vision long-term, around 2030 and creating a strategic plan, but also working with our partners and our donors to bring them closer and to build that brand, to allow them to continue to have us enhance our mission and vision and to realize the Preuss promise. So I'm the outside face, hopefully looking to one day replicate the Preuss School because we've had so much success. So I'm the outside of the school, and we work at that 30,000 feet up to make sure that, of course, when we come back home, the mission and vision is being carried out.
And my background really really complements Dr. Griffith's background extremely well. I've been an assistant superintendent with a large district. I've been a principal before. So for me, I chose the role of going to that level of being with the teachers and the staff and working closely with the idea that I know what's happening outside. It's just the work I don't necessarily want to be involved in that work as much. And I like being able with somebody that I can work with to give input in that area. But I really like the work of closely working with teachers on instruction, on bettering the culture of the school, and the scholars, working with the scholars closely and being a part of their success. So for me, I really draw a lot of happiness from and achievement from that area. But it's nice to work with someone who asks me my opinion and asks for my talents and resources to contribute in all ways. So I really like the back and forth that I have with Dr. Griffith, and it really feels like a team when we're working together.
It's a fun team. I might add to you, Valerie, that we need colleagues, we need thought partners, we need people who not only have the same philosophical views on things that matter, but also have differences of opinion when it comes down to making sure we're doing the right things for scholars. Mm-hmm. So to tap into Dr. Steitz's experience, his knowledge, his passion, his forward thinking has been an awesome experience, and we make it a real teamwork. And so we're excited to be together in this work, especially in this pandemic, which has been unique in that we hired him on Zoom. And so I didn't get to see him in person once, and we were like, okay, you're a real person, and so am I. We went out to the site to do a walkthrough, but the relationship is very, very fluid because we have the same philosophical values that why we are at the Preuss School, to close that achievement gap and to expand the opportunities for our scholars and to close the opportunity gap as well.
Yeah, and usually the principal's position is very lonely. Usually you do not have a close thought partner like that.
So true.
This setup is really dynamic, and I really already feel I'm growing from the knowledge that Dr. Griffith brings with the charter area and her experiences. So it's going to be a great model, and it's a model we can continue to replicate.
Absolutely, ditto. Especially to the support when you're in leadership, having someone that you can share those tough conversations with, that they understand the work, and we're in it all for the same goal.
Yeah.
It's just so wonderful as someone who was around when they were just abstract words, executive director and principal. I mean, we know what those things are, but to see you two and what you both bring that is so close in philosophy and all of that, but with different skills is really wonderful. It's really an exciting time. So
we agree.
Great.
We agree. We just can't wait to get back on campus to work together and running each other's office next door and back and forth. We're just looking forward to that opportunity, but we're making the best work. We actually have office hours on Zoom, open door office hours, so people can just drop in.
Yeah, and I'm doing a one-on-one with every teacher. So every day I meet with about 3 teachers at a time. We have a 30-minute conversation because we can't bump into each other in the hallway. So we start building those relationships. So I'm scheduling through and going through the entire staff.
That's great. That's great. Okay. One of the things that is just wonderful about the school is its relationship to the university. And I wanted to ask you about that a little bit. It's a tremendously important resource that contributes to the school's success, the relationship with the university. And as much as it is and as great as it is, I think we all have the sense that there's potential maybe to expand and think new and think bigger about that. So maybe we'll start with you, Dr. Steitz, with this as principal. What are you most excited to see in terms of expanded relationships with the university?
Well, I'm excited about several things with the partnership with the university, but the first and foremost is the prestige of the UC campus itself. It's one of the top universities in the world, and it's an amazing research facility. So we have an ability to just to tag along on those coattails as being a really successful K-12, but really be able to, when we say it's, the Preuss School at UC San Diego, that means a lot to a whole different community outside of the K-12. And it gives us a lot of leverage in any partnerships that we go into, be it for a contract for books or something. We have the weight of the entire UC system behind us when we do that work. So just leveraging that is a blessing for the school and for our scholars. But tapping into all the different resources, such as the health services, our sciences, our STEM, amazing facilities, guest speakers, and then, of course, the ability for our students to take classes through UC Extensions and do other things along those lines. There's a lot of growth in that relationship that we can build on. But it's an exciting place to be because there are so many people from the UC system that have their hand out ready to offer support. They're reaching out for us saying, give me your hand, we'll help you here, we'll help you here. And it's just my job really to look at all those hands and what they're offering and work them into what we do as a K-12 school.
Absolutely. Well said.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I could add to that, Valerie,
Yes.
in that UC San Diego, with the vision of the chancellor, former chancellor Bob Stein, Cecil Lytle, Bud Meehan, was to mitigate Prop 209 and to reestablish or to build the level of scholars who are underrepresented on the campus of UC San Diego. And they
remind people what Prop 209 is, Dr. Griffith.
Prop 209 was affirmative action. And it gave points to students, probably like me, when I entered UCSD, to be able to enter that campus. While we were prepared to be there, there were still barriers. And many of those barriers Prop 209 took away. And Prop 209, of course, was, I think, voted out many, many years ago. And so this was the university's response to create one finish line and one start line, because we know that those are different in different communities. Mm-hmm. So they took a full commitment in terms of the partnership of creating the Chancellor's Associate Scholarship Program under Chancellor Kostler's leadership. So they put not only was the school established, but then the funds were established so that Preuss scholars could get a full ride to UC San Diego, and to, of course, leverage the access and the equity at UC San Diego. And that's been a wonderful partnership at the university, in addition to the other things that Dr. Steitz mentions. But we're also looking at now, especially in the COVID environment, is preparing our scholars to be able to study online. As we see now, universities have flipped to that model. So we're piggybacking on the innovative strategies around online technology and online teaching and learning at the university, being able to learn from that, working with the IT department, educational vision technologies, as well as the teaching and learning commons, and pushing that knowledge into the campus so that we can build our brand and build the knowledge of our scholars to be able to compete in an online environment. So there's such a rich, rich, rich partnership, and we haven't begun to continue to tap into all of those resources. And we're so fortunate. No one else has that opportunity to tap into a world-class institution like we have.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah, it's really it's really exciting. Thank you for sharing some of your thoughts, and for the important context, I think, Dr. Griffith, about Prop 209. Some folks might not have known or have forgotten about that. So thank you for that reminder. One more question before we move on. How do you see the Preuss School continuing to lead the way in middle and high school education going forward?
So many good ways. We have had such a serious success rate in first generation scholars entering four-year institutions, over 90%. And we want to continue to lead the way and let other schools, and change the face of public education to let them know that it's possible. Especially from the eyes of the executive director being the outside face, is to get that information out there at the local, the state, and the national level, so that we can share the story, the model, the brand, so that other scholars, like our scholars, can have the same world-class education. And so we want to continue to lead that work, take that work to the next level. Now I can talk a little bit about what we want to do on site.
Yeah, I really look at the next level for us being, first, we're really blowing people away by just selecting students that are first generation to college, and we're taking students with no prior screening at all. We just we select the students, bring them in, and we prepare them for a Preuss education. We prepare them in the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, catch them up if they need catching up, strengthen skills if they need them, explore their strengths, get to know them as learners. And then when they get to high school, we prepare them for an extremely rigorous path to that of being ready for an A through G curriculum and being ready for advanced placement courses and college credit. And I think where we're looking now as we look at the future of education, and is really looking at this idea of student agency. Yes. And really starting to teach our learners very early on that it's not our pathway, it's your pathway. And it's about you making the pathway as a scholar and deciding where about you want to go, capitalizing on your strengths and how you're going to bring that back to your community. That whole student agency piece of, you've heard it termed maybe in personalized learning and those types of terms, but it's about a student learning who they are as a learner and learning how they can grow as a learner, and then taking advantage of every opportunity in front of them that they feel fits them, not being pushed into a model, but deciding for themselves which way to go. And I think as we incorporate that into Preuss, I think we're going to be creating learners that are going to be the top's going to be completely blown off. They're going to be able to go wherever they want to or do whatever they like and whatever makes them happy. And that could be from something as simple as owning their own little business, or something as great as, you know, being on the space shuttle, or being an astronaut. So.
Right. And extremely important with our scholars coming from communities below the poverty level to build that agency, that ownership, and that belief that they can accomplish dreams that they've never even dreamed of before. And working, of course, with our talented faculty and with the bridge of our donors who are so generous in their support to help us create a model that allows them to not only catch up, but to accelerate, and then have that belief system that I can sit amongst any college and university and compete and complete, and then come back and transform my community.
Yes. And before we move on to the next topic, I'll just remind our viewers today that entrance into the Preuss School is an entirely fair and open process, open to all students. There are no hurdles to overcome in terms of tests or grades or anything like that. It's a random lottery.
Blind lottery, right.
Blind lottery. So students enter our school as just regular kids, and they leave our school as exceptional scholars. So
absolutely,
we want to toot our own horn on that for
again. Well said.
Yeah.
Very well said.
All right. Sometimes people think we must have a special pool. We do. Kids of San Diego.
That's right, who self-select.
Right.
And who believe in the mission and vision that they come to us. I recall going into a 6th grade class during my first day at Preuss, as what they were doing introductions. And I asked them, why are you here? And these were our 6th graders. And over half of the class said, I'm here to be the first in my family to graduate because I want to do something my parents weren't able to do and weren't able to accomplish. And this was in the 6th grade. And I was so very impressed, so overwhelmed. I said, it just makes you want to work harder, deeper, and give all your time and talent to making sure that their vision and their hopes and their dreams come true. And Preuss is making that happen.
Right. For them and their families.
Absolutely.
Yeah, our challenge now really is in this setting is to bring that culture through our virtual environment and being able to still make them feel like that they're part of Preuss as sitting at their house, you know, or their apartment, and that has been a challenge for us. But one simple way we do that is we ask our scholars to wear your Preuss shirt and use your camera and come on and let yourself be seen for who you are and who you're going to be. And that's really helped. And our scholars respond very well. Our attendance is soaring as kids get more used to this environment. They're doing very well. And we're excited that I think we're bringing a little sliver of Preuss to them through this virtual process, so that when they come back and they're with us live, it's going to be like, oh, we're finally here.
Exactly.
Full package. So I think there's a little excitement for that.
Yes. Okay. I'd like to shift a little bit now and address the reality that we're all living with, the COVID-19 pandemic. The campus was closed, UC campus and also Preuss campus, on March 13th in response to the pandemic. And the Preuss school made a commitment to continue classes in the virtual environment at that time. So I'd like for you, if you would, please to share how you approach that and what you've learned, which I'm sure is a lot. Dr. Griffith, since you were here at that time and Dr. Steitz had not yet arrived, let's start with you, please.
Yeah, and it's just a piggyback on what Dr. Steins was just talking about, because what he just mentioned was our response to COVID-19. But what we did right away, we actually prepared to evacuate before the day came, because we were fortunately in touch with the epidemiologists at UC Health, which is one of our benefits of the partnership. Mm-hmm. They were advising us all along the way that a potential shutdown is probably going to happen based on what was happening with the virus. And so we began to prepare right away to close the access in terms of scholars being able to be in an online environment. So when we flipped on the 16th of March, which was that Monday, we were able to begin to do online studies in an independent study environment with the use of our website. We took the next 10 days with the partnership of Qualcomm, our generous partner, and other partners to help us get a one-to-one program going, so that we were able to deploy devices to every one of our scholars, which was a computer. And then we were also able to secure hotspots. And we worked in partnership and collaboration with IT from the UC side, UC San Diego, as well as our partners, to get connectivity. And within 2 weeks, we bridged the digital divide at our school. And every scholar, all 850 of them, were able to access curriculum online. So we never skipped a beat. Our teachers came right up to speed with transitioning into a teaching and learning environment that was on site with the support of our innovative tech coordinator, who went into full-time mode with his tech team and supporting that transition, and the university was supporting us as well. So we never missed a beat. We went into a do not harm grading policy for the scholars so that they would feel that support. Our mental health and wellness team moved into teletherapy. Our counselors went into telecounseling. We mitigated the food insecurity. We did a lot of surveys to find out what were the needs. We were just busy, making sure that we were flipping that online rigorous model to the out-of-seat model and addressing all of the challenges that were associated with our scholars and their families being in the pandemic. We've learned a lot since then. Maybe Doc can talk a little bit about our learning, because he joined us on July 1, and we were in high gear at that time, really looking at other models, and he can talk about some of our learnings, which he alluded to with the camera and their shirts and the culture we were trying to create.
We want to hear from Dr. Steitz. I just want to inject one little thing here before we move on, is that Dr. Griffith would give sort of updates, kind of formally and informally, all throughout the spring to the board and different constituency groups. And it was dazzling, the speed and efficacy with which the Preuss team, which is the teachers, the staff, the leadership, just went in and took hold and did an amazing job, such that I think that they appeared at a variety of meetings where other people were saying, well, what are you doing? What are you doing? And I think they had to, keep kind of a low profile, not to really stand out and be models for really what was possible. So what was it like when you arrived, Dr. Steitz?
It was an interesting time. I had known that, this is where we were at. I had been in another district where we were making the transitions. And so it was nice to see that Preuss already had a system in place. The amazing thing was that we were able to get our scholars that one-to-one computer ratio quickly, and even the access points, how quickly those were ready to go for our scholars, thanks to the partnerships we had, and thanks to everyone that donated to the school in order to have this ability. But it was done so quickly, and our teachers also supported well with their devices. And our we have a very small IT department. I mean, it's basically a one person and a little bit of help, and we now have a coordinator for that that helps as well. But it's a very small department, and when you look at the entire student body and staff, you're looking at about 900 people that need to be coordinated and ready to roll online. And that was once that has been established and we could get there, then you saw the magic of our dedicated staff and our dedicated students, our scholars, and how they connect online and kept things rolling. I think the best example of our success after I got there was our first day of school, when we had an assembly, a school-wide assembly, which was basically a webinar. And we looked at that participant number on the Zoom dial, and it's right around 900. And that was just amazing to see. And it really felt like we were in an assembly of 900 students, our scholars and staff. And we kicked the year off in a very strong way. And that was, I think, one of the best things that we saw starting.
That was pretty remarkable.
Just to put that in perspective, for those of you that don't know, 900 is about how many students we have. So that's like saying everyone. And that's, if you're following the trials and tribulations of educators these days, getting kids to show up is an enormous hurdle. And we just sailed over that one. Dr. Steitz, I think I may have cut you off. I mean, Dr. Griffith.
Well, I was just going to add, Valerie, that yes, our attendance rate, we just, on our admin meeting this week, we heard was 99%. So attendance is high. One of the learnings, because we did a lot of surveys with our parents and our families, we actually held a lot of parent meetings on Zoom. Attendance averaged over more than 300 parents, even on those webinars, and they were giving us their feedback. And that was why the camera was one of our strong non-negotiables, because we found that it increased engagement. And so then this year we had to get additional devices out to our scholars to make sure they all had cameras so that they could feel that community and that culture of support, that culture of belief, the high expectations that we know they feel when they're on campus. And so we had to rally, of course, our support around that initiative to make sure that we could see them and they could see us and we could feel and be felt. They put on their Preuss uniform so they can have that spirit of camaraderie and they feel like they're in school. And that they have that same notion and that same work ethic, even though we're not together. So we've had a lot of learnings. We put in a very special schedule for them that gives them an hour to get to their lunch sites so that we bridge the food insecurity. Dr. Steitz had an amazing brainchild where at the end of the school day for an hour, it's called Scholar Support Hour. So they get additional tutoring, they get additional one-on-one with their teachers, they get a counseling time. And then we've also built in after-school tutoring and Saturday Academy. These are all at a cost, which means that we're creating a world-class institution with these supports, but it does come at a cost, but we know that cost is worth it.
Absolutely, and the governor gave us some pretty strict marching orders when we started the school year that every scholar had to have that one-on-one or that connection with a teacher every day. And while they lowered the number of minutes that you were allowed to have for the year, Preuss has always been way above that. So as we restructured our schedule to give our teachers opportunities to meet with scholars at that 3 to 4 hour, we are not far off of our normal hours of a normal high school. As a matter of fact, our middle school hours exceed what they were regular or what they are regularly from the state. So 57,000, we're well over 57,000 minutes for our middle school scholars right now. And they have a reduction because we reduced the Preuss time. So that reduction in Preuss time is what I think is really valuable. So as we get back to doing our business, the ability to have funding to extend the day and to extend the time that we're with the scholars through the year is how we can give the scholars the support they need to get through this academic curriculum, this rigor, and build the culture of connection that we've built. That is the key to this thing, this machine and how it works, partnered with advisory. Being able to free up our teachers to have a group of scholars with them through 7 years. They have them as 6th graders and they work with them every year, the same group. That builds a built-in mentorship that allows us to really push our scholars towards all kinds of extra activities, internships, different things of this nature, because they trust that advisory teacher, and that advisory teacher can then encourage them into challenging things like an internship on top of this rigorous curriculum, or some type of an activity on top of this curriculum.
And
so
they become family.
Huge. Yeah, they become family.
Family.
That's at a huge cost. You have a majority of your staff that aren't teaching an academic course, they're teaching an advisory. So
Right.
that is a gift that we have from our community of Preuss supporters that
Yes.
allows us to build a strong backbone for this program.
Could you maybe just address a little bit specifically there too, that the role that the advisory teacher plays in the fall of the scholars' senior year in terms of shepherding them through the college application process, because that's so critical and so helpful.
Well, of course, every one of our teachers have been through college. Many of them have been over at UCSD. So they've been through the process, and they know how to get assistance from the counselors as they need it, but they have a mentor that's next to them that can share their experiences as a college student. We have several teachers that are also first in their family to be college
Preuss alumni as well.
Alumni. So that relationship and that mentoring that happens there is very strong, and it allows the scholar that confidence to ask for a letter of recommendation. And that is something for students that have never been in that situation to ask for that kind of help. Will you recommend me for my future? That is a vulnerable thing to do for a student that's been through a background that may not have been able to have that type of openness. And they know they have that there with the mentor and that advisor, and they can ask that question. And
so advisory is very, very important. It's one of the tenets of the Preuss School. And those advisory teachers at the senior year, they actually help them push the button on the college application. They make sure they fill out their FAFSA. They do the recommendations. They're actually given release time that we have to pay for as a part of our model, which donors generously support as well, to make sure that they walk through every single step. I had the pleasure, Dr. Steitz will get the pleasure when we return on campus to walk into the computer lab. And every time they push the button submit, they ring a bell, they start cheering, they did it, they did it. And it's just a celebration. And the advisory teachers have shepherded our scholars for those 7 years to get to that day. And you should see the tears when the letters of acceptance come in, and the tears of letters when the letters of opposite come in as well. But they have that family support to understand that we have walked you through. There will be no imposter syndrome, because the advisory teachers have built up their capacity to believe in themselves that they can stand shoulder to shoulder on any college campus. And like we said, compete and complete and come back and transform their community.
Okay, well, as you and the audience can tell, we can get going on these topics.
Absolutely.
All right. Let's look ahead just a little. And what opportunities do you see on the horizon for the Preuss School?
Doc, you want to get started on that? And what do you see? What's in your crystal ball?
Yeah, we have several opportunities on the horizon. We really are a strong academic school, but I think a lot of our opportunities come with connecting our students to music and to arts and to give them a well-balanced part of their, have an opportunity to bring some of them into the school. We do that very well right now. I think that's an opportunity for us to look at more. I think a huge opportunity for us, though, is really to connect closer with the communities we serve and get the communities to realize that they have a treasure amongst them that they're sending to us, and they should be celebrating them just as much as we do. So we should be celebrating our scholars in the community and going back to their community and celebrating them there with their, their friends and their family and their churches, and celebrate them so that they start to realize that Preuss is part of that community. You've connected to Preuss now because we're taking part of your children, and we're educating them, and we're sending them out into the world for us so that they'll come back to this community and serve them.
Yeah.
So I think we look at that.
And they have ideas as well about the future of Preuss. The scholars, as we left the campus, we were right in the middle of a visioning campaign, and we would meet with scholars in town hall, and we would talk to them in small groups about their vision. Some of their visions are they want to start college courses at UC San Diego now while they're at high school around business and having business opportunities. Is why we're looking at a partnership with the Rady School of Business now with the Start Our Teen program, where they can actually engage in creating their own businesses now. They're also visioning around having a full-size gym, regulation size, because they're scholar athletes and they want to play and they want to engage in sports at another level. They want a full-size field at Preuss so they can play regulation games and CIF. They're also visioning around, they love, as Dr. Stein says, being well-balanced and the visual and performing arts. They would love to have a new visual and performing arts center right on campus where they can have their plays and their festivals and engage in music and symphony and orchestra, which we do now, but at a smaller scale. They'd like to see that increase. They also talked about their vision for around different transportation options. The Blue Line is coming to UC San Diego, and looking at different methodologies by which they can come to school, because we bus our scholars at almost a cost of $2 million to get them to the campus. But their vision around other opportunities, as they understand that we are there to empower them, to transform their families, and then ultimately transform their community. So we're just excited to hear what they envision the future to look like as we look at the future of education, and then we make that happen.
Well said.
Oh, thank you.
Right. Okay, so we need to move on to our final section, but is there any final comments either of you would like to make about what the Preuss Promise means to you and to our school? Mm-hmm.
I just think the Preuss Promise is a promise that everyone's going to be doing their best to make sure that the scholar has that opportunity. Nothing stands in the scholar's way, right. And they have an opportunity to change their life the way they want to and be part of their community and give back.
Right, which means we are creating a generation of change makers.
Yes.
At the Preuss School, it is the intent, like we said, that they will achieve that reason for which they came, to be the first in their family to complete a college degree, then to come back and elevate their family, transform our community as they become that next generation. So we're just excited to be a part of that promise, to make sure that on our watch that it happens and that we celebrate it and that we do everything in our power to make sure that those scholars stand on our shoulders and do better than we've done.
Keep the promise. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I've always said, since I came on the board, I just always feel honored to be part of the enterprise.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And we're glad you selected us to be a part of the enterprise. Thank you.
Members.
Yeah. Okay. So to begin, to address how you can help, our conversation today, as you can tell, expresses the passion and excitement we all have for the Preuss School and its mission. And I'm sure that those of you who joined us today share those feelings and want to know how you can help. As you consider your options, please know that you can give either what is called a restricted or unrestricted gift. If you want to specifically choose how your gift is used, that's a restricted gift, you can do that. And in just a moment, you'll hear some ideas about areas where you might do that. Or you can give an unrestricted gift, which leaves the use of your gift open to the Preuss school team, and they will use it where they see there is the greatest need. So either way, whatever you give will be gratefully accepted. Absolutely. So let's hear from Dr. Steitz and Dr. Griffith about ways in which you can give.
I think that.
Go ahead, Doc.
Well, I just think that the one thing to know about that, the gifts that you give are directly going to affect scholars. There's nothing that's done otherwise. Everything is directed to the betterment of what we're doing for our scholars. So one of the big needs we have, of course, with our one-to-one situation of computers is a technology need. So we have opportunities for people to support our technology at the school, both in the school classrooms and of course the laptops that we would like to make a standard issue for every single student, that when they come in they get a laptop and they're ready to roll with a good laptop, not something that's not going to be out of date in a year. We would like to buy them high quality stuff for their high quality education. So that's one area that stands out.
Right, which is the future of education. We want to be able to move to the next level in terms of technology, in terms of offering those college courses, which come at a cost. We're looking at, of course, different opportunities around transportation and what that's going to look like in the future. The future of course, professional development and developing our staff to make sure that they continue to learn and to grow as they've committed to be these amazing professionals. So professional development is a part of that model. Of course, our longer school day and our longer school year. Those are all opportunities where we have seen the success and we've seen the needle move because of these initiatives. And we just want to continue to take those to the next level. Of course, to support the scholarships, to make sure that they are supported even beyond the Preuss Academy. So maybe an alumni coordinator who will go into the work deeper and to make sure that they are supported. So we have many initiatives. Of course, we mentioned also the Mental Health and Wellness Initiative, which is extremely important. In an environment with such pressure to be the first in your family, to be the change maker, and all these wonderful things that we say, they come at pressure, and we realize that we need to mitigate that, and we need to address that with educating the whole child and attending to their mental health and wellness. So those are some of the few ways that you can share with your time, talent, and treasure to give, to make sure that this model is not only expanded but replicated, and that we will become the model so that we can build that bridge and create the model that will mitigate the opportunity gap and will close the achievement gap. And there'll be no equity and access issues because of this model being replicated both locally, at the state level, and nationally.
Inspiring.
Hey.
I think so.
All right.
I'm inspired.
Yeah.
By these scholars and their families and our staff.
All right. Well, thank you, both of you, very much.
Thank you.
Dr. Griffith and Dr. Steitz, for joining us this afternoon. Really appreciate your time and know how busy you are. It was wonderful to hear of your current experiences with the current situation and challenges, and your perspectives as well on the future of education. And especially, I think, the dynamic and influential role that the Preuss School can play, and that we all hope that we all have high hopes for that. So thank you for sharing your tremendous expertise and experience with us. Thank you to everyone who joined us and for supporting the Preuss School Day of Giving. We are thrilled to share the mission with you and encourage you to join us in delivering the Preuss Promise to all our scholars. Thank you and good afternoon.